Imagine walking into a room that isn't crowded at all, yet you immediately feel an unexplainable sense of pressure. No one is openly hostile. No conflict is happening. And still, something inside you tells you to step back. You can't quite name it, but you feel it. The people in the room feel heavy. Not tired. Defensive. Tense. Like something could snap at any moment. Have you noticed how more and more people seem toxic lately? Easily irritated. Emotionally cold. Self-centered. On the surface, they speak the language of growth, boundaries, and self-care, yet their actions are filled with manipulation, emotional withdrawal, passive aggression, and control. You might instinctively label them as difficult people or emotionally immature. But what if that explanation is too simple? What if this isn't about a few broken individuals, but about a system quietly producing them? Why, in an era that constantly talks about mental health, emotional intelligence, and self-improvement, are toxic personalities becoming more common than ever? Why does the world feel more civilized, yet relationships feel more damaging? Why has being yourself turned into an excuse for cruelty, narcissism, and emotional recklessness? You may want to believe the problem lies with them, not society. But if a society keeps producing the same emotional patterns, the same defenses, the same behaviors, can the responsibility really rest on individuals alone? Or are we living inside an environment that slowly pushes ordinary people into toxic states, without them ever realizing it? Think about yourself. Are you more irritable than you used to be? Less empathetic, yet more desperate to be understood? More sensitive to being ignored, yet increasingly numb to others' pain? Have you ever reacted in ways that later felt unfamiliar, even disturbing, to you? If you're honest, you'll arrive at an unsettling truth: toxicity is not always a conscious moral failure. More often, it's an unconscious adaptation to constant competition, chronic anxiety, endless comparison, and emotional deprivation. So here's the real question: if modern society rewards emotional hardness, amplifies narcissism, punishes vulnerability, and leaves little room for genuine feeling, are these personality flaws truly personal failures, or are they the byproducts of the system we live in? Maybe the real issue isn't why they're so toxic. Maybe it's this: why modern society is producing more toxic people than ever, and why you are living right in the middle of it. And the most uncomfortable question of all: if you never examine this, how long before you become the very person you once despised? Because what we're about to uncover goes far deeper than "people have changed." If you continue to see toxic people as individuals with moral flaws, you will never reach the real cause. From a psychological and philosophical perspective, toxicity is not a personality starting point, it is a defensive endpoint. It is not who people choose to be, but what they are pushed to become. Carl Jung warned that when a person's authentic self cannot be accepted by society, the shadow grows. The shadow is not evil by nature, it is the parts of the self that are repressed, denied, and shamed. When vulnerability, failure, confusion, and slowness are not allowed, those parts do not disappear. They simply find another way to survive, through aggression, emotional coldness, control, and manipulation. Modern society is exceptionally skilled at producing shadow. You are constantly told to be positive, efficient, rational, successful, but given almost no space to hold fear, anger, shame, or helplessness. Over time, you learn one lesson: emotions are not meant to be understood, only managed, suppressed, and packaged. This is how defensive personalities are formed. Nietzsche described this as a moral inversion: when you cannot truly become strong, you protect yourself through moral superiority, emotional detachment, or contempt. You stop expressing needs and start using sarcasm. You stop admitting dependency and begin devaluing intimacy. You stop facing fear and start accusing others of being too sensitive. This is not moral decay. It is survival in an unsafe system. Schopenhauer believed human suffering arises from the permanent gap between desire and reality. Modern society amplifies desire while systematically blocking fulfillment. You are encouraged to want more, faster, and better, while living in constant competition, scarcity, and comparison. The result is a dangerous psychological equation: chronic frustration plus nowhere to place it equals internal hostility. When hostility cannot be expressed outwardly, it turns inward. When it cannot be acknowledged, it hardens into personality. Sartre famously said, "Hell is other people." But what he truly meant was this: when you lose control over your own existence, others become the targets of your anxiety. You are not truly angry at them, you are unable to tolerate your own inner chaos. This is how toxic behaviors begin to feel justified. Control becomes protection from abandonment. Coldness becomes armor against pain. Narcissism hides deep insecurity. Aggression creates a sense of psychological safety. And the cruelest truth: modern society often rewards these traits. Workplaces favor emotional numbness. Social media amplifies self-centeredness. Algorithms push extreme positions. Meanwhile, empathy, reflection, and self-awareness are inefficient and invisible. Over time, toxicity stops being an exception and becomes a system-approved survival strategy. So you must begin to ask, when more people become emotionally volatile, relationally destructive, and psychologically unreachable, is this really just their problem? Or is modern society itself producing a psychological structure that makes toxicity almost inevitable? And the most dangerous part: the longer you adapt to this structure, the easier it becomes to forget that you could have become someone else. What is truly terrifying is not the existence of toxic people, it is how silently this toxicity reshapes your life trajectory. The damage is not explosive. It is slow, continuous, and almost imperceptible, seeping into your perception, relationships, and sense of self. Imagine a kind of poison with no color and no smell. It does not knock you down immediately. You still work, socialize, date, scroll, and plan your future. Until one day, you realize something has changed. You trust less. You approach intimacy with suspicion. You assume hidden motives. Your first reaction to the world is no longer curiosity, but defense. This is not coincidence. It is psychological adaptation. In high-pressure, competitive, performance-driven environments, the brain shifts into threat monitoring mode. The nervous system stops asking, "Is this meaningful?" and starts asking only, "Is this safe?" When safety becomes the highest value, authenticity, spontaneity, empathy, and deep connection are quietly sacrificed. This is why the most connected era in human history has also become one of the loneliest. You are surrounded by people, yet rarely understood. You have endless ways to express yourself, yet fewer places to speak honestly. You can reach anyone at any time, but nowhere truly feels safe. More dangerously, personality itself begins to distort. When you live in defense long enough, you start mistaking defense for identity. Emotional coldness becomes maturity. Distance becomes independence. Emotional numbness becomes rationality. And genuine sensitivity is dismissed as weakness. Eventually, you may even feel uncomfortable around people who still carry warmth, empathy, and sincerity, not because they are wrong, but because they unknowingly illuminate the parts of you that have gone numb. On a societal level, the consequences deepen. As more people live inside unexamined psychological defenses, public spaces become reactive, polarized, and hostile. Dialogue turns into attack. Disagreement turns into moral judgment. Complexity is reduced to sides. Understanding is treated as weakness. This is the moment toxic culture fully replicates itself. It no longer requires malicious individuals, only exhausted, fearful, defensive people. And the most dangerous part? You begin adjusting yourself to survive. You minimize your feelings. You speak less. You shrink your inner world. You tell yourself, don't take things too seriously. Yet somewhere inside, you sense something fading, not happiness, but the depth of being alive. If this continues, the question is no longer, why is society producing more toxic people? But rather, are you slowly being shaped into one, without even noticing? True rebellion is not raging against the world. It begins the moment you realize you no longer need to twist yourself to survive a sick system. Most people believe the way out of a toxic society is to become stronger, colder, smarter, more detached. But Jung would say this is precisely how you remain trapped. When you fight defense with defense, numbness with numbness, you don't escape the system, you stabilize it. The real exit begins in a dangerous place, turning inward. Not self-help comfort. Not motivational illusions. But ruthless, honest, unfiltered self-confrontation. You must finally admit, your anger isn't only about injustice. Your coldness isn't just because the world is cruel. Your aggression, control, superiority, and detachment, part of them come from aspects of yourself that were never seen, never held, never allowed to exist. Jung called this the shadow. The shadow is not evil. It is your disowned humanity. In a society obsessed with positivity, success, rationality, and emotional control, your vulnerability is rejected, your anger is shamed, your confusion is mocked. So you hide these parts, even from yourself. But what is repressed never disappears. It returns distorted. As aggression toward others. As self-destruction. As cynicism, control, moral superiority. As a life that looks functional but feels hollow. Here lies the uncomfortable truth: the most dangerous people are not those who feel too much, but those who feel nothing at all. Because numbness is the final fracture of the soul. True rebellion begins when you bring the shadow back into consciousness. Not to indulge it. Not to glorify it. But to see it, own it, and take responsibility for it. When you can say, I am also selfish, fearful, jealous, fragile, you no longer need to project these traits onto others. You stop needing to be right. You stop defining yourself by attacking others. You stop being triggered by every perceived threat. You become dangerous, not to people, but to the system that feeds on fear. As Nietzsche warned, to become who you are is a dangerous act. Because once fear no longer governs you, once comparison loses its grip, once false moral frameworks collapse, you become unpredictable, uncontrollable, unprofitable. The final realization arrives quietly. Society produces toxic people not because it is evil, but because it cannot contain authentic human complexity. And your life's deepest task is not to become flawless or invulnerable, but to refuse self-betrayal in a distorted world. You will pay a price for authenticity. Misunderstanding. Exclusion. Labels. Yet something returns: wholeness. Not happiness. Not success. But alignment. This is not the end. It is the moment you finally begin to live.